Howdy. Hi. So, sorry, I have been very uninspired. I don't really have a lot to say, and I usually just get on when I've got something to say and jump off, and that's it. So, haven't been wanting to force it, but I feel like maybe I should be making videos. I don't know. So I thought, let's have a second discussion about the murder case of Jonbenet Ramsey. So Jonbenet, the little girl from Boulder, Colorado, died at Christmas time 1996, found in her basement on Boxing Day by her father John Ramsey when there was a police officer in the home. Now, I think the last time I spoke about this, I was asking, what sort of mother do you think Patricia Ramsey is? Do you think she was a loving mother? Do you think she paid attention to the things that really mattered, as in we all have different values, but what were Patsy Ramsey's values? And this time, let's just talk about John in interviews, things Patsy says, and maybe things Patsy has done. If we go to that morning, from what we know in the timeline, as in, okay, this is interaction with others other than that nuclear family unit. What have we got? Well, we've got Patsy Ramsey hanging up on a 911 call in her desperation to get on the phone with friends. Now, people hanging up on a 911 call, do you want to know what the statistics are of that? Very, very rare, I would say. Did I look them up? No. But I just know you just don't do it. You stay on the line. And 1996. Well, in 1996, I'd say a rich man like John Ramsey had a car phone. Did I look this up? No, I didn't. But if he didn't have a brick mobile phone, he had a brick car phone. I'd nearly guarantee that if they really needed to call someone, that they had another phone to use. Patsy could have said, John, go out to the car and ring some people using your car phone. I don't know. Maybe that's utterly ridiculous. But one thing I find really, really ridiculous is a parent hanging up a 911 call. Okay, it's like, well, job done. There we go. Tick. Get my friends around here. Okay, yes, you might want some support. Isn't that what your husband is there for? Not your mates, okay? It is completely ludicrous. My child, my daughter, there's been a kidnapping, but throughout interviews, whether it's with CNN or Oprah Winfrey, two networks who are obviously just in it for the money. I mean, John Ramsey licking his lips after the lie that, there were no restrictions on questions. Of course there were, because certain questions just weren't asked that should have been and would have been. In interviews with him and Patsy and on John on his own. But anyway, that child. Okay, so I might say to a stranger or to someone, oh, look, my cat died, poor little, thing, was run over. But I wouldn't keep saying it. Usually I'm saying kitten, I'm saying autumn. And then I'm saying, oh, look, this vulnerable little thing, this sweet little thing, she was so little. But I'm not saying just that cat, my cat, that cat. No. And if Rocky Carnival dog was lying dead there now, it's not that dog, that child, my dog, maybe, maybe once, but it's my little dog, my little puppy, my little Rocky, I am using his name. And I know you would too. And don't you think Patricia Ramsey would too? I mean, I just think there's an objectification of Jonbenet Patricia Ramsey that didn't simply come from others viewing her at pageants and others looking at the photos and at their lifestyle. It comes from the parents, you know, and those lizard lip licks. John Ramsey's lizard lip licks. Either this man has the most disgusting, dry mouth in the world. Sorry for people that genuinely have. I know there are health concerns. I know there are health issues that cause this. But no, it's when he's licking and when he's not. Just go back and watch the hours of videos and watch him in action. Oh my God, he's so disgusting. I just find it disgusting. Now, when someone asks me, okay, what do you miss about Kitten? If someone asks me that, just like any other person when asked, what do you miss about your husband? What do you miss about your son? You don't just say, Patsy Ramsey, you don't just say, oh, I miss her little butterfly kisses and her spontaneity. Fuck no. You say, as if it's like the most stupid question in the world, you say, her. I just miss her. And you are missing them. It doesn't matter what about them. Their humour, their beauty, their love, their butterfly kisses and their spontaneity. I mean, John says, she was the family spark plug. She had things rocking. That's what you miss? Oh, did you think, what are we going to say when we're asked what do we miss? I mean, naturally it should come out every time. Just them. Just that person, right? Right? So, you know, if Carnivore Dog died, what am I going to miss? Carnivore Dog. Him. Every single thing about him. And then if I was asked to extrapolate, you know, it could be in particular, you know, his quirkiness, his goofiness, his loyalty, his protectiveness, you know, so many things. But the inanity of that question, anybody asking that question, it is a fool's question. It is thoughtless. It is insensitive. It is ludicrous. I think it is the stupidest question a journalist or anybody can ask. Hands down, sorry to yell, but to say, well, I think Jonbenet's just the butterfly kisses that she used to give me. And, you know, her spontaneity. Well, yeah, you know, she was a firecracker. She was spontaneous. But I tell you what, she was spending hours upon hours training for pageants. No, it wasn't just some little hobby, and it wasn't just their little thing that they did together, John Ramsey. Everything extracurricular that Jonbenet Patricia Ramsey did was so that she could perform in pageants. Violin, acting, tap dancing lessons. You know, it's all about pageantry. Was there anything scholastic or just sporty? I'll tell you who played sport. Patricia Ramsey, softball. You know, so the edge of a torch could look something like the handle end of a softball bat, couldn't it? You know, couldn't it? I guess kind of like, I'm not talking about this end here. I'm talking about this end here. Anyway, not saying anything about that, this chat. But, you know, there were a couple of softball bats. One black one that's just out on the pavement that isn't covered by the hose like the silver one is. So what else did I think I'd mention today? You know, tried to make some notes once, didn't I? Okay, so, well, I've mentioned the bat, but, you know, everything was from inside the home, wasn't it? Everything was inside the home. So there might have been some sort of systemic long-term abuse or weird behaviour or unusual family dynamic going on for a long time, but perhaps the actual death of Jonbenet Ramsey was not planned, and was indeed covered up because you know, every single thing was from inside that home. I'd like to know what shape a train is, let alone the track. You know, let alone the track prongs. But isn't a train sort of that sort of cylindrical shape with a bit of a curve if it's showing a particular type of carriage? I don't know. Were they checked for skin particles? Don't know. Yeah, you know, what's going on? You know, we're seeing a tight family unit, but, you know, is this for survival, or is this through love, or is just, you know, is this for self protection, you know? Because sometimes it seems like there's a whole lot of gaslighting going on, you know? There's a whole lot of gaslighting going on in interviews when, you know, when he's asked, you know, who could have done this? What sort of person? Excuse me. And he's always quick to say, you know, it's not a person, it's subhuman. It's someone subhuman, evil. It's a creature. And he's always saying creature and licking his lips. And it's so pointed. Now, yes, you would say, yeah, it is a monster. It is an evil creature, person. Creature doesn't sound like pedophile or like murderer, does it? Creature to me sounds like some sort of changeling, like some sort of, more like a child. That's odd, you know. And when Patsy is asked the same thing, you know, or, you know, rather when she's asked, would you harm, do you want to harm the person that has done Jonbenet, like, you know, kind of revenge? What would you like to see happen? Now, this is a question that, say, cops will often ask, you know, what sort of punishment do you think should be brought down upon the perpetrator, the killer of your child, sort of thing, you know? And supposedly, you know, the person who done it would say, oh, well, maybe, you know, they should get, you know, life in prison. But if, you know, they're not guilty, you know, supposedly they're going to say they should be shot. I mean, honestly, let me get my hands on them. If the law doesn't put them in the electric chair, I will keep appealing until that happens, sort of thing. You know, they want to rain down holy bloody terror on that person, right? But, you know, Patsy Ramsey, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone. What did she say? I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want them off the street. I just want it so that they can't hurt anybody else. You know, which makes sense in some contexts, doesn't it? That she wouldn't want someone to not hurt anyone else. You know, maybe she knows she's not going to be around to protect anyone else any longer. What do you think? You know, with the handwriting too. Look, I promise you I will go back and do some reviews, okay? But I think it might have been near, you know, I think this might have been near when Patsy died, because I remember her not looking well. She was wearing powder blue, that particular light blue, you know, that little soft blue that was the ribbon in Jonbenet Ramsey's hair that day she was found. But she's being interviewed. She has a lawyer present, and she's being questioned about handwriting. And understandably, law enforcement aren't wanting to tell her exactly, why they're, what they're showing her and why they're asking the questions. But to me, it seems clear that they could be showing her writing from something that's not the ransom note, and her writing from something that's not the ransom note, and just saying, what do you think about these two letters? Because it occurs to me that they want to see what she is saying, just in general. Is she trying to distance herself from anything that she thinks might be the ransom note? Because clearly, I think it's the letter G. There's one letter G. It's pretty much identical. But it could just be from any old writing that they've gotten from her in the past, not the ransom note at all. It might not be comparing ransom note with another sample of writing, okay? And they're clearly identical, and you'd think the natural thing for someone observing that to say would, look, they look pretty close. I mean, superficially, that looks like the same person could have written it. That would be what a normal person would say. But she's like, oh, well, I mean, they're both lowercase. Yes, they're both lowercase. This one's a little bit more shaky here. But this one, this one's steadier. This one's slightly more shaky, but, but they look superficially identical. Okay, it's very clear. But she is painstakingly trying to find a difference. Now, whether or not because she thinks someone she knows wrote it or she wrote it. But it's just, and her lawyer's always objecting, and there's, minutes and minutes of discussion. And I think it's sad too, seeing that, just on a human to human level. I mean, Patsy is obviously unwell here. I'd say she's trying with all her might. It's if she is protecting someone, that's a last ditch effort, isn't it? Because she's bloated, she's heavy. I'd say she's losing her fight with cancer at that stage. What else was I thinking about? Sorry. Yeah. Maybe that's enough for now anyway. Is it possible that one parent told the other parent that someone did it? Or is it possible that one parent suspects something and acted accordingly? What do you think the dynamic is here? Do you think, they wouldn't let Burke be interviewed if he was guilty? Or, is he highly coachable? Burke is just as odd as the rest of the family. That's for sure. Do you believe that there was some sort of sexual abuse going on? What do you think about Patsy and her calling the doctor continually and taking Jonbenet in? Jonbenet was having urinary tract issues. She was having yeast issues. Now, this could be because of poor hygiene practices. I don't think Patsy Ramsey was someone that bothered to teach her children how to clean themselves, to dry from, and wash from front to back. I don't think she really cared about that sort of stuff and paying that sort of attention to child rearing. she seemed to want to get whatever she wanted out of life, you know, and, you know, maybe it's just the tight costumes that Jonbenet was wearing, synthetic fabrics, but it certainly is very unusual when you add in abrasions inside Jonbenet's vagina, and some of them were not fresh abrasions. Jonbenet, if, you know, she was being abused, you know, children often show things rather than say things, and her artwork was very interesting, very disturbing, as was Burke Ramsey's artwork, because he never ever, from just what I recall, apologies if this is wrong, but in his interviews I don't believe he ever drew Jonbenet as part of the family, even as a little angel up in heaven, maybe looking down, you know, as someone might do. You know, removed from his life. And, you know, the abuse may not have been, okay, from physical abuse, but is it neglect? What sort of neglect was going on in this household, so that Patsy could live the type of life she liked, you know? Yeah, who do you think is most likely protecting whom, or who did it first? I mean, do you make much of Patsy Ramsey saying there's one person who did it and another who knows about it, and pointing at John Ramsey when she does it? You know, do you make things of that, you know? What do you think their dynamic is? Were they staying together for survival, for Burke's sake, just for the sake of each other? Or are they all just narcissistic? I mean, you can't get past, you can't move, I mean, you can't deny John Ramsey's strategic brain. I mean, that ransom note is completely bonkers and stupid, isn't it? How would he think to come up with that? But maybe it was too late, for example. I don't know, maybe it was already done and he's rolling with it, or maybe he thinks if the shit goes down, let's make sure it's not me. You know, why are all his children bedwetters? That is very unusual. And, you know, maybe one or t'other, but 4 + 2 or 3. Did he have 2 daughters? Melinda, Elizabeth, a son, John Andrew. See, John was already named after John. Burke just got Burke. Jonbenet Patricia got both the parents. I mean, honestly. You know, they're all bedwetters, apparently. Patricia said this in front of John, and he did not deny it. And again, there's always this sort of this interplay between the two that is, I find so fascinating. I really do. I love watching them and listening to them, because there are what I consider morsels and gems of information peppered in every single interview that really, I think, that the truth is there. And they are other people that are very fond of talking about the truth. You know, the truth exists. There's nothing but the truth. The truth is easy. Lick, lick, lick. I mean, just to me, they are dodgy as all hell. But if you're going to talk intruder, okay, you know, sure, okay, sure, an intruder could have come in and they didn't need to go in the window. I think I've said this already. They could have probably walked in a door. Okay, and the house is huge. It's ramshackle. They probably didn't use a lot of it. And yeah, there'd be plenty of places for people to hide. But, you know, is this really the scenario that you can believe? I mean, anything is possible, yes, and it's not always the most obvious thing. This is what tricks people up. I mean, it's not always a case of Occam's razor, is it? But the grand jury was going to indict the Ramseys for neglect and for, not for murder, but for accessory to murder. You know, and apparently, you know, the Ramseys with their firepower, you know, Boulder police just didn't want to go up against that firepower. How much is a little girl's life worth, though? You know, isn't it worth? I think it's worth citizens' funds. I think it's worth the energy. I think it's worth risking being annihilated by a rich man's firepower. It is. It is. It sets precedents. And then you've got Mary Lacey being seduced and manipulated by the disgusting John Ramsey. I mean, really, seriously? I mean, what is the point of that relationship if not to manipulate this woman, you know? Relationships in this case, they are just so weird. I mean, look, aggression towards a sibling might be usual. Would it be ongoing? I don't know. There's always jealousy. I bit my little sister once so hard on the back I left teeth marks. Because it had just been me and my brother for so long. Okay, now by this time she was 4 years old, but she was cute as all fuck, and she used to annoy the shit out of me. And you know, I didn't deal with it very well. And you know, I feel really bad about it. But you know, would I hit her with a weapon? Would I have ongoing issues with her that wouldn't have been addressed? I don't know. If I murdered her, for example, would my parents cover it up? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot at stake for the Ramseys. I mean, you know, neither of the Ramseys were going to go to jail, and they would obviously want a life for their son as well, a life where no one else is harmed, a life where you know, as long as someone isn't made bitter and angry, everything can continue on. Anyway, what do you think? Shit, this has gone on for 28 minutes. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty to talk about with Ramseys. I will try to get to reviewing everything. Did you look at the autopsy photos? Have you seen them? I have looked, and I think if you can stand it, and if you're interested in the case, I mean, you need to look at everything. It's distressing, but they are curious. So, what do you think? What do you think about them just not saying, well, her, I miss her, my daughter, Jonbenet? What do you think about that child all the time? What do you think about John's lip licking? Does it mean anything? Have you noticed when he does it? Does he just have a dry mouth? Does he not know to have a glass of water? I mean, it's pretty foul. When you put it all together, I really don't like it. You know, Patsy Ramsey is a whole lot more expressive. But John, it's sort of, I feel like it leaks out, and there's expressions on his face that I'm sure he wouldn't really want you interpreting. I don't know. Anyway, what do you think? Are you all, do you think it's an intruder, or do you think it's someone in the family? Speak to you later.